Hey there, and welcome to another KidLit chat. I have the wonderful Tina Cho here with me. Tina, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thanks for inviting me, Brooke.
Yes, thank you for taking the time to do this. I'm so excited to chat with you. So, you have some of your books visible for us, but tell us, for those of us watching who've never heard of you and your stories before, who are you and what do you write?
Okay, my name is Tina Cho. I'm actually a teacher, a kindergarten teacher, and I've been a writer since 2008. I write children's books. I have 4 picture books, Rice from Heaven, Korean Celebrations, My Breakfast with Jesus, right there, The Ocean Calls, and then I have a middle grade novel coming in 2024, a graphic novel. And then I also write work for hire once in a while.
Yeah. Ooh, the graphic novel sounds really cool. But you're not the illustrator, right, of any of them?
No.
Yeah. That's always at least I think more fun to be the writer and then turn it over to someone else to do the art.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned that you are a teacher, which I mean, we're going to be talking about writing about real life and things like that. But
Mhm.
as a kindergarten teacher, have you had anything that you've experienced that would make like a really great picture book or anything that's inspired your own?
Well, I do have a little notebook, especially for them, that I write down cute things that they say because I teach kindergarten. So I never know when I'm going to use one of their lines. And then in The Ocean Calls, the main character, the girl's name, is actually one of my students that I had in Korea. Her name is Diane, and I thought it was so pretty. So I used that for my character.
Oh, I love it. I know as writers, I feel like you're always keeping track of like good names that you find.
Uh-huh,
You always
right.
find it for your books. I love
Mhm.
it. But okay, so you live in the States now, but you mentioned that you lived in South Korea. You did that for like a decade. So how did that impact your stories other than the name for the Ocean Calls?
Well, Korea shows up in all of my books.
Yeah.
We lived there from 2010 to 2020. My husband's family lives there. And so there's just so many great ideas because it was all new to me because I grew up here in Iowa. So I used those great ideas and turned them into stories.
Yeah, I love it. So talk to us about some of your stories because like you have Rise from Heaven and the Ocean Calls here. They're both based off Korea, but they're completely different things. So what kind of sparked those ideas?
So Rise from Heaven is based on a true event. When I first moved to South Korea, I heard about North Korean refugees in church, and I had never really heard about who they were. And so I Googled them on the internet, and then it kept leading to this one guy who was like the mastermind behind Escape. So I got to interview him and some North Korean kids that crossed the border, and so that's what my lyrical middle grade graphic novel's based on that's
Oh,
coming out.
I
But
love that.
Rise, go ahead.
What's your middle grade novel called? Sorry.
The Other Side of Tomorrow.
Oh, okay, cool.
But Rise from Heaven is based on an event I helped with, helping North Korean refugees send rice in these huge hydrogen balloons over the border to their home country. And sadly, they can no longer do it because the Korean government has outlawed it, but we'll see if they allow it in the future.
Yeah, I was lucky you got to do it at least once.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then The Ocean Calls is based on these diving women off the island of Jeju. Most of them are grandmas, like 50 to 80 years old. They dive deep into the ocean without using any breathing equipment. They catch all sorts of sea creatures to sell and cook in their restaurants.
Yeah. Gosh, you have such awesome ideas. What do
Yeah.
you do? Do you just like walk around and just like find interesting things or how do you come up with
Um,
your ideas?
well, the Ocean Calls one came from Twitter. Someone tweeted about these women. They're called Haenyeo. And so I Googled them and I'm like, oh, they're in Korea just like I am. And so I asked my husband, can we go visit them? And it was just a 30-minute plane ride. So we got to visit. Rise from Heaven happened because my co-teacher in Korea was tutoring North Korean refugees, and she told me about the event. And so I asked if I could tag along. And
Yeah.
then that yellow book, Korean Celebrations, is a nonfiction book about all their holidays and traditions. At the time, it seemed like there was a holiday every single month, and I wanted my kids and I to understand it. So that one came about. And then my Breakfast with Jesus is based on diverse children and their breakfasts that they eat and how they share Jesus's love and kindness. So actually, Iowa and Korea are featured in that book.
Both of them. Oh my gosh, I love it. What cool way to like repeat your own life and like things that you got to experience firsthand. That's so cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Well, so we're going to be chatting obviously about all of you and all those things in a couple months, but what is something that would be surprising for someone to find out about you?
So maybe you can see that green and white book. It's a Korean dictionary that my husband and I were asked to do. So my name is written as the author of a Korean dictionary, but I don't really speak Korean. I know some words as a baby, but so it's my husband who did all the Korean work, and then I did all the English, and we did the audio too because I was adopted. So
yeah. How
learning.
was that when you moved there at first? Was it really hard to get used to the language when you were teaching?
Yeah, so actually I taught in American school.
That's good.
but like 1/3 of my class could not speak English. So that was really hard. It's a lot of gestures and signing and me learning a little bit of Korean and
Yeah. Did you get a little bit better at it the longer since you stayed there for so long?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, that's so fun. I love it. Oh, it's really cool. Well, guys, if you want to learn more about Tina and all of her awesomeness, they should go to your website, correct? Tina Cho?
Yes, tinamcho.com.
Yes, and that lists all of her books and all about her and all of her awesome new books that are getting ready to come out, because you have 3, right? 2 more picture books.
Yeah, so there's 2 books that have not been announced yet, 2 picture books. I can tell you they're nonfiction science.
But they'll be coming soon, so check it out, and then you can follow her, and then you can pre-order and do all that.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for doing this, Tina.
All right. Thank you for having me, Brooke.
You bet.